Hey guys, this is Hell Hades. This is a Raid Shadow Legends video. Guys, we're tackling the big stuff this week. Clan boss chests. Were they nerfed? If they were, how were they nerfed? When were they changed? How do they work? Why don't you get all the stuff you want? All of that type of stuff. So, I think before we get into potential changes, nerfs, that type of stuff, let me talk to you about how clan boss chests actually work. Okay, some people say to me, why don't you just throw us the percentages so that we can see what's going on? I can do that, but it's actually a bit more tricky to understand than just, you know, you've got percentages, an ancient shard of this, that, whatever. There's already some cool information out in the community, by the way. But what we did at HH Gaming, we decided to just fact check the information that's already out there, make sure that it's solid. And to do that, Saph, working with Centy, basically built a shard simulator. Yeah, so we're now going to have, for a bit of fun as well, a shard simulator that will sit on hellhades.com. It will be under tools, and you could come in and you can just be like, right, what level of clan boss am I fighting? Let's say you're fighting the max. You can simulate your clan boss pool and just have a bit of fun with it. So you can kind of get a feel for, you know, actually when you get above Knight, you start to move from 2 drops to 3 drops. And, you know, when you get up to Divine, you're on 4. And then Transcendent is the only clan boss chest with 5 drops. Okay? So you can have a bit of fun with it if you want to. It's going to be under tools, under Raid Shadow Legends on hellhades.com. But I'm going to explain it. It does explain a bit in text here what's going on. I'm going to try and explain to you how this actually works and then talk to you about the changes that have happened. So if you imagine clan boss, imagine it is like a gumball machine. Okay, and within this is your chest. So each of the different gumballs are like a field, if you like. So there's 6 different outcomes that could drop from a clan boss chest. There is currency, which is gems and silver. That's kind of grouped. There's artifacts, yeah, which is all of your cruel gear and your immortal gear. There are shards, ancient, obviously void and sacred. There are tomes, skill tomes, that's the 4th one. And then there are the 2 rubbish ones, really, in the scheme of things, brews and potions. No one wants the potions, right? And definitely no one wants the brews, but that's the 6. So each time you get a drop of an item, it chooses from one of those categories, and they're all weighted differently. So if I give you a feel for the weighting here of a max chest, a transcendent chest, every single one of those things has got their own weighting, and it's a combination within the coding of how much they've weighted each different part of that grouping. So currency has got a weighting of 70 out of 332 for the first roll. Okay, and everything's got its own rating. So shards is weighted 18 out of 332 for the first roll, and every time one of those things is rolled, that category gets removed. Okay, and then the roll 2 has all of the remaining things. Okay, and they've all still got their same weighting. So the percentages change. Like, let's say you pull artifacts first, which is a high percentage, 42%. Then everything else, the percentage of it will go up because you've removed one of the big percentage drops out. Okay, and basically for every number of rolls that you get, your chance of pulling one of the remainder is obviously higher because you get, on a transcendent chest, 5 out of the 6 categories. If you're very early game, you only get like 2 out of the 6. So the chance of you getting brews and an artifact is really high because they're the 2 highest individual percentage things, versus a shard, which is very hard to get very early on. Okay, so this is kind of the way it goes. It's kind of like pull one, it removes it from the group. Pull the second one, it removes it from the group, and you end up with just a couple of options at the end. What it does mean, though, is that every single max chest that you get from Ultra Nightmare Clan Boss will have either a skill tome or a shard in it. It will have it because they're 2 individual categories, and you get 5 out of the 6. So if we look back on the simulator, every single time I do a simulation, there will be some form of shard or tome. There has to be. Sometimes you get both if you're lucky. And almost always there'll be an artifact because the artifact weighting is so high. It's not 100%, but it's not far off it. Yeah, did get one there. But you can see every single time a shard or a book, because you have to. if you're on the max chest. Let's just prove the theory. I have not collected my clan boss chest today. Let's go on Ultra Nightmare, pick up my chest for the day, and I get 1 shard, an artifact, brews, which are combined as one thing. They just split them out here. Some gems, which is my currency, and potions. Okay, I didn't get a book in that one. Second drop, I get my artifact, a shard, gems, brews, and potions. I've got the same mix. Okay, and if we go on to Nightmare, I get 1 less item out of Nightmare, which means that my chances of getting the harder items like shards and books are way less, because we're now pulling 4 out of the 6. Okay. Which is why getting to Ultra Nightmare Clan Boss is so important. I actually got a Sacred that's very hard to do, and I'll go over the numbers in a minute. We got a Sacred, an artifact, brews, and a currency. And then this time round, we got what you would expect to get, the higher option things, which is actually the worst thing. So I didn't get any books or any shards. So what that means is, the sooner you can get to Ultra Nightmare Clan Boss max chests, the sooner you are guaranteed a shard or a book every single day twice if you do max chests. Okay? Nightmare, you're not guaranteed it at all. And coming back from Nightmare, you're nowhere near guaranteed it. Okay? So that's why I always push for people, go and do Clan Boss, get your Clan Boss team sorted first, because it's the most important area of the game to get good rewards. Okay, now I have to call out here Bobo, who's been in the community for a long time. I think he does a lot of work with Deadwood, to be honest. I've not had much to do with him personally, but I know that he does a lot of good work. And he's had this document out for a long time, and I will link it down below. Thank you, Bobo, for the work you've done on this. I think there's one mistake, and I don't know if there's an updated version that I've not seen, but there's a mistake, I think, that the Sacreds and the Voids are the wrong way round on the ultimate chest for Nightmare. And maybe there's a newer version, and apologies if there is, but it should be 6% chance of getting a Void, 3% chance of getting a Sacred for the ultimate chest. So we fact-checked this, by the way. So Saph on my team, he built this simulator, and then he ran it. He ran it 150,000 times. Yeah. And basically what that meant was we had a chance, there was actually 720 possible outcomes for the currency, brew, cruel gear, all that type of stuff, amalgamations. And he pulled it 150,000 times, and then he looked at what was the percentage of outcomes we actually got versus what should be the expected outcomes. And you'll see here, they differ a little bit. The more times you simulate, the closer you get to probabilities, yeah? But there's always a chance that on a small fraction of rolls that you just don't get what you want. Or you don't get the odds. It's just the way it works, you know? I remember going to the casino, and I was doing the red or black game, right? I went with 200 quid, and I was like, £5 on red. If it didn't come in, I went £10 on red. If it didn't come in, £20 on red, 40, 80, until it came in. And actually what that meant was I won my original £5 bet, and then I went again. As soon as I hit red, I went on black. Yeah, and I did the same thing. Double up, double up, double up. Eventually, when you win your original £5 bet. That's the way it works. The first 2 times I went to the casino, went with £200, came back with over £1,000, flashing it around. We're out shopping. We're having a great time. I literally felt like I was invincible at the casino. Okay. The next time I went, I lost all my money. And the friends I went with actually went and got more money out, and they lost money, and they lost money, and they lost money, and they lost a ton of money. And actually, the table we were at rolled black 29 times in a row. The odds of it is insane, but just think to yourself, every time that ball rolls round, it's near enough a 50-50 chance it's red or black. Forget what's come before. That's what a human brain says. What come before dictates what comes next. It's still 50-50, near enough. Not quite 50-50 because there's the zeros, but our brain tells us, well, it's got to be black next time. It hasn't. It's still 50-50, but over the cycle of probability, it will even out, okay? And that's exactly what's going on here. The more simulations you do, the closer you get to the probabilities that are in the data, okay? So Bobo's done this information chart, and actually what he's worked out is, after all of the different rolls, what's the percentage chance of getting certain items depending on which clan boss you're fighting and which chest you get. Yeah, so let's just take first getting a mid chest on hard or a low chest on brutal, the knight chest. The chance of you getting an ancient shard or a void shard, ancient shard 2%, void shard 1%. So 1 in 100 chances of you getting a void shard at that level. Okay, let's step it up and say right now I'm slamming Nightmare and I'm getting the ultimate chest. Should actually be 6% in here for void shards, but your percentage goes up dramatically. You're now getting 21% chance of getting an ancient, 6% chance of a void, 3% chance of a sacred for every chest that you open. Now, this is why unkillable teams are so good. Look at what happens when you go to Ultra Nightmare. Over double the chance of getting an ancient, 3 times the chance of getting a void, and what's that? It's 4 times the chance of getting a sacred shard. Bit more than that. Yeah, it's extremely, like, the chances are extremely higher, okay, when you go to Ultra Nightmare. There's also a much higher chance of getting an epic tome and a legendary tome, which is basically the stuff we're in there for. The rest of the stuff, cruel gear, all that type of stuff is nice, but let's be honest, we're looking for the shards in the books, yeah? That's what we're in there for. So getting high-level transcendent chests really is important. I often get asked the question as well, what's better if I get a max chest Nightmare or if I get a lower chest in Ultra Nightmare? So what if I was hitting mythical chest in Ultra Nightmare? Is that better or worse than the ultimate chest in Nightmare? Well, you can see it here. You actually get a slightly higher chance of a void shard. You get less chance of an ancient shard. You get no chance of a sacred. And in terms of tomes, you get no chance of the legendary tome. And you get a much worse chance of an epic tome. So, honestly, I would say max chests for Nightmare is much better than trying to push for the lower tier chest for Ultra Nightmare, and it kind of works out similar along the way, really. So max chest Nightmare is where the game starts to open up. Max chest Ultra Nightmare is where you start to have some fun and pull some good stuff. Yeah. Now let's talk about nerfs. Nerfs to clan boss. What happened? What's changed? You know, I've seen videos out there recently saying, you know, something's changed. I'm getting less rewards. All that type of stuff. So we have got the info. We've got the static data from now, the live version, and from the past. We started with taking a copy of the static data back in March, and we can see the odds, the weighting against every item in Clan Boss, both then and now. Now, what's, you know, this kind of tinfoil hat, they've nerfed legendary books, they've nerfed Sacred Shards, all that type of stuff. The odds and the weighting for all shards and books are the same today as they were in March, and they've not changed in between. Okay, so nothing has changed in terms of the distribution of shards, books, and the chances of getting them. The only thing that has changed in all of that time, in all of the static data, is the chance of getting a 6-star legendary piece went up from a 4% up to a 12% within its group. Okay, so they dramatically increased the chance of when you pull an artifact, it being 6-star legendary. And I think that was in line with the fact that we'd now moved into higher tiers of the game, in effect. So the 5-star stuff was just less relevant. Other than that, nothing has changed. Okay? Nothing at all. So, you know, just understand that it feels like you're on a bad run sometimes. Well, that's because maybe you're not getting the max chest transcendent, or if you are, there's still only, you know, there's still only, what, a 10% chance of a legendary book and a 13% chance of a sacred shard. So yeah, you should get multiple per month, but you can run for 10 days in a row easily without pulling any of that, without pulling any of those things, because it's just the odds. Yeah, and if you pull 2 really early in the month, well, you might not get any until the end of the month, because that's just the probability. It's just the odds. So don't forget that kind of casino mentality. It's just the way it goes. But in terms of the numbers, it's fact. You know, it's fact. Nothing has changed. Nothing has changed in that time. So I hope that's helped you. And again, I just want to shout out to Saph for doing the work with Centy. Both of them kind of fact-checking a load of the work that Bobo had already done, as well as kind of building this simulator now that we can have a bit of a laugh with. And also, you know, the original work from Bobo, basically spot on from back in the day, almost to the percent. And this is with us doing like a mass ton of work on it. So there you go, guys. Clan Boss chests, were they nerfed? No, they weren't. Hopefully you understand a bit more how they work. Get yourself to Ultra Nightmare as soon as you can, and you'll start enjoying the game more. I've been Hell Hades. I will see you later.